Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. James Marsden and Marvel were talking more about Deadpool, Wolverine, and X-Men during Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, so we will break it all down because I know there are a lot of questions about how they're handling the X-Men characters in the next two Avengers movies. What is happening with that brand new X-Men movie in Marvel Phase 7 after Secret Wars? What does this have to do with Sadie Sink's version of Jean Grey that's going to show up during Spider-Man Brand New Day? Thankfully, Marvel and the actors have been talking a lot about this, so we actually do have quite a bit of information about what's going on. Back in the day when those original X-Men movies were happening, we didn't really have the spoiler bros the same way we have it today with Tom Holland, Mark Ruffalo, the modern MCU actors, but there were still actors on those X-Men movies that would talk about all kinds of stuff that they were not supposed to at the time. Recently, James Marsden did a couple of interviews where he talked about the X-Men, his own Cyclops character during Avengers Doomsday, Secret Wars, and what this means bringing it full circle from the original X-Men movie back in 2000. Most people wanted to know what his dynamic with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was going to be like because they had such a rivalry between those characters in the original X-Men movies, and this is what James Marsden said: "I love Hugh Jackman, and I love the dynamic between Wolverine and Cyclops. It was always a brotherly, healthy competition between the two of them, where they were annoyed with each other. It did feel like a brotherly relationship. I wouldn't say that I was excited to slide into that role without him barking in my ear. He was missed. I'm trying to answer ... without saying too much ... as he's looking off camera at the Marvel snipers. That's my answer." Here's the thing, we know that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool will appear in Avengers Doomsday, but the idea is that they were not supposed to be on the main X-Men team in that universe that we see in the trailer that the Russo brothers released. So it's not like they're there with them when this attack is going down in the actual footage. The scenes where you see Cyclops in agony, the Sentinels that look comic book accurate raging behind him at the X-Mansion. But we do know that they ended the Deadpool and Wolverine movie with the two of them on the main X-Men universe version of Earth from the original X-Men movies. So like the one that we actually saw in the original X-Men movies, that's the planet that they're on right now.
You know the Avengers discovered shawarma.
They'd be lucky to have you.
But unless Marvel has recently changed something with all the different reshoots they're doing, and it is totally possible, but unless they've changed something significant, this X-Men team that we saw in all the Avengers Doomsday trailers is meant to be a totally different team from another universe like the same one Monica Rambeau wound up in during the Marvels movie, and they just happen to look like the versions from the original X-Men movies, but they are not the exact same versions from the original X-Men movies, talking about black leather and yellow spandex lines. So I think this is what James Marsden means when he says that Hugh Jackman was missed and he didn't have scenes with Hugh Jackman, even though Hugh Jackman is in the movie as Wolverine and he is in the movie as Cyclops. It's going to be a really big movie, so there's a way to explain how he just doesn't have scenes with every single X-Man in the movie possible. And even if they change the story a little bit and Deadpool and Wolverine still come from the same Earth that these other X-Men team members come from, the two of them are off doing their own thing during the movie, separate from this X-Men team. Just to explain why they might not have scenes with any of the other big X-Men characters, maybe like one or two of them, but like obviously not Cyclops, James Marsden's character. Kevin Feige said that before the Deadpool and Wolverine movie blew up as big as it did, their plan for Wolverine and Deadpool in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars were completely different. And back when it was still Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty and Jonathan Majors hadn't been fired yet, there was like a completely different plan for what they were doing with all those characters. If you can believe it, back then, the plan was to wait to bring both of them back in Avengers Secret Wars, and they would just skip over Avengers Doomsday because there were so many characters in Avengers 5. Even when it was still Kang Dynasty, the story was still crazy big, just way too many people to fit into a single movie. This is also why more recently, when the Russos released the Chair Watch video, people are like, why are there so many missing characters? Like, where is Storm? Huge X-Men character. Where is Jean Grey? Like, where's Famke's version of Jean Grey if all the classic X-Men are coming back? Huge character. We will get to that in a second too, because I think that Famke missing as her Jean Grey also has something to do with Sadie Sink appearing as her Jean Grey, completely different version in Spider-Man Brand New Day. One of the other funny things that James Marsden talked about for Avengers Doomsday was his now very iconic line about the yellow spandex and black leather suits during the first X-Men movie and how now they're doing the comic book accurate suits, and he's so happy to do that.
First movies where we were just in black leather, that we were very, very tight and we couldn't really, very restricted. We couldn't move around. In fact, Hugh and I think the first day of filming, we had to jump over a little retaining wall outside the Statue of Liberty, and we both were tripping over it. And I mean, no joke. There's a video online of us doing this, and just like, okay, we're fired. That's it. You know, you just don't feel like a superhero in these. But and I put this on, felt very cool. You know, felt very proud. And then the visor goes on. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't see again.
Am I going to war or a circus?
What'd you expect? Black leather?
They did a much bigger joke on that during X-Men 97 Season 1 with that version of Cyclops doing an inversion on the original line, making fun of black leather, not of yellow spandex. And the funny thing that Kevin Feige said when he explained why that happened in the first place, like why they made the black leather line and why black leather was so important for them, why it wasn't more comic book accurate looking back during 2000 when they released the movie, is all because the studio at the time, Fox and Bryan Singer, were deathly afraid of the comics and being more earnest, being brighter, so to speak, like being more comic booky because of what had happened with Batman and Robin. If you were not around in the 90s when Batman and Robin came out, after it came out, Hollywood became deathly afraid of being super over-the-top and comic booky to camp. So at the time, there was this huge shift to more hardcore, way more serious tones, which is where you get to the Blade movie with Wesley Snipes, which obviously did very well. It is sort of like the Godfather of the MCU, so to speak. Also, what happened right before the X-Men movie was made is that the Matrix movie came out and was so successful, and they wore black trench coats in that movie. So Kevin Feige said the studio logic at the time was, if we put our people in black leather, it will also do well, because the Matrix did well, and we also just had the Blade movie, and he was running around in black leather, and the movie did well. That was literally as complicated as their decision-making got when it came to picking the costumes. Like, oh, black leather equals money, we'll do black leather. To be fair to James Marsden, who actually did speak the line about yellow spandex and black leather, he was an actor who was paid to say those lines. It wasn't like he personally felt that way, but he also does admit that when they were making that movie, there was no way to know where comic book movies were headed and that we would be here today where we are. Most of them said that when they were making that movie, none of them knew how big it would be or what would happen to their careers because of it, like if it would go on to a trilogy, and then they would then be brought back over and over again over the next 20 years after that. Hugh Jackman, obviously, when he went to play Wolverine for the first time, did not know that he would still be playing the character when he is 90. Thank you very much, Deadpool.
Fox killed him. Disney brought him back. They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
Bringing it back around to what's happening right now in the MCU, though, Spider-Man Brand New Day, next big movie, we have Sadie Sink's character. She is supposedly playing Jean Grey in the movie, so now people are asking, which universe does she come from, and how is this connected to any of the X-Men stuff that's already happening that we know about in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, because we literally have an X-Men trailer with a whole bunch of that team from the classic movies. Even if you do not follow any of these movies, like you have a very passing familiarity with X-Men movies in general, you could probably tell that Sadie Sink is not from that same X-Men team that we see in all the Avengers Doomsday trailers. She's from a completely different universe, completely different version of the character than Famke's version of Jean Grey. One of the other details that was revealed last year is that supposedly the reason why we didn't see Famke in the Chair Watch video is because she is not in Avengers Doomsday. There are a lot of rumors about her possibly being dead in that universe, like that version of Jean Grey isn't around because she's dead or she's gone. But for whatever reason, Famke has said over and over again that she's not in the movie every time people ask her in interviews, and I'm kind of starting to believe her now. Personally, I don't think that Marvel would do her that dirty and wouldn't at least not bring her back in Avengers Secret Wars, but they might be saving her in Storm's character, for instance, Halle Berry's Storm, for Avengers Secret Wars, and that's why they're not in Avengers Doomsday. But also, Marvel is setting up their new version of Jean Grey for the main X-Men team that's going to be like the MCU version after Secret Wars, after they do this little soft reboot and it close everything down. So part of the reason why they're probably pulling back on Famke's version of Jean Grey a little bit in Avengers Doomsday is, one, because there's so many characters already, but also because they're trying to weave in Sadie Sink's version of Jean Grey, and it's like a completely different version of the character, and they just need enough room in the story for that to make sense before it gets super crazy with a bunch of different versions of all the characters in Avengers Secret Wars. If you're talking about like the fulfillment of what a multiverse movie should actually be, that's really what Avengers Secret Wars is supposed to be. Everybody remembering Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse with that epic pointing meme, like just think of a version of that, but in live action with a whole bunch of different versions of the characters, different characters, not just Spider-Man characters. And also bringing it back around to Wolverine and Deadpool, they're also supposed to have bigger roles in Avengers Secret Wars. Also, supposedly, they're not going to answer the question of why Thor was crying, or if they do, they'll joke about it again during Secret Wars, but they're never fully going to explain it. Like, definitely not going to explain it during Avengers Doomsday, but probably also not during Avengers Secret Wars that much. Maybe just like a light reference. Sean Levy actually said that when they were making Deadpool and Wolverine, they just included that scene because they thought it was funny, and they were like, they'll figure it out in future movies, like the Marvel people will figure it out at some point.
Why is Thor crying? We don't know.
Don't answer that. You can't answer that.
I'm not answering it.
Because later on because we're so full of shit here, we're gonna say, we're gonna answer it in the best possible way in the future, and we're gonna look like geniuses, but we just don't know yet.
Oh, and later we'll claim that we always knew,
Sort of like Endgame.
Oh, exactly like Endgame.
Maybe what they'll do is during Secret Wars, because they'll probably have some kind of version of the Thor Corps or something similar to that from the comics, is that they'll just have another version of Thor crying over Deadpool. It won't be Chris Hemsworth's 616 version of Thor. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below and all your X-Men questions. I know there's going to be a lot of X-Men questions the next couple of years because Marvel is pinning all the hopes of the future of the MCU on X-Men characters for like the next 10 years of the brand. What'll happen is we'll get more Avengers Doomsday trailer videos as we get closer to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now they're focusing more on Spider-Man Brand New Day. Thankfully, they started to release official HD footage, but they'll also be doing Avengers teasers when Spider-Man comes out. We are currently in the middle of Daredevil Born Again episodes. There are 2 episodes that are dropping this week, so my video for that will post after they release them. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. We also have Boys Season 5 episodes, Invincible Season 4 episodes. I'm doing videos for everything, so I'll try to get everything out as fast as possible. There's also a bunch of new trailers that just randomly drop in the last couple of days too, so I'll try to do videos for all those as well. Everybody just be sure to check my channel a couple times a day for the next several days, and all those videos should be up eventually. Hopefully I will still be alive by the time it's all done. Everybody click here for all my Spider-Man Brand New Day videos, and click here for all my Daredevil Born Again videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.